Okay, hello, welcome back to another video. Today we're playing e4, of course, the greatest opening move. If you play d4, I don't understand why you play chess. Knight f3 here, and we're going to play an Italian, hoping for bishop c5. So we can play the Jerome Gambit. What a great time it is to be alive. We're going to take this pawn, throw two pieces away for two central pawns, but then come in with queen h5 check. This is my preferred variation of the Jerome Gambit. Hit the king and the knight, and also through the knight we hit the bishop. And yeah, we've got a very questionable gambit on our hands. Last time I did a video surrounding the Jerome Gambit, the guy that I'm sure most of you are aware of, if you've heard of the Jerome Gambit, who's done this massive blog on it for like 20 odd years. He actually featured me on the blog, which was extremely kind of him. If he sees this one, then I would greatly appreciate a part 2 of that. That would be very kind. I think queen e3. I mean, I'm playing this gambit with exceedingly little knowledge of how to play the gambit, but I'm gonna come back to e3. I don't think giving a check makes sense, because I think bishop e6 just develops while blocking that, and I think I'm gonna castle. Actually, I think maybe knight c3. Let's stabilize this pawn. Knight g4 may be a little annoying, but I guess queen f3 check and you have to go back, so that's fine. Now I can stabilize this pawn further with d3, whilst also creating potential avenues for the development of my dark squared bishop. And actually, I'm considering trying to castle queenside and playing like h4, h5. When I see these two knights sitting here, I'm just thinking free tempo. h4, h5, free tempo. So, you know, I think hopefully, am I bold enough to play f3 and go for like g4, h4, bishop d2, castle queenside? I think that's what I'm going to do, because I think that's the best way to create solid chances. Also, f3 seems like a really nice move. You know what, I'm going to play it and justify it afterwards. Seems like a really nice move because if you look at the pawn complex I'm setting up, it's all on the light squares, so obviously making his light square bishop less effective and my dark squared bishop far more effective, which is quite a nice, you know, it's a nice reason to play Jerome Gambit actually, because you get opposite colored bishops. But this is now plenty held. We just have to be a little worried about d4 here. As a forking tactic, which is okay actually, because I think, you know, I could just move my queen, which I sort of want to do anyway, to give my bishop the e3 square. I don't know, I'm not sure exactly how much sense that makes, but I think I'm going to go queen f2 here, step off the e file where the rook is, leave e3 for my bishop, and I don't want to go back to e2 because I want maybe knight e2 if d4, so I'm going to go to for queen f2 here. I'd love to know if I'd love to know just how far this guy's theory extends. I will put a link to his blog in the description of this video. I was very impressed when I checked it out. Just you know, shows what one man can do when dedicated to something so beautiful as the Jerome Gambit. Okay, do I take with the f pawn to open my queen and actually maybe castle kingside? Or at least just play rook f1. I think so. Let's go for this. Take with the f-pawn. Although now knight g4 is an option, which I don't know how I feel about, because it vacates the f-file ready for a rook to come there. I mean, I'm most certainly not doing that well, but as long as it's not all falling apart yet, I don't mind. That is interesting. I think he's just putting his knight there for the sake of it, just because I can't take it because this is pinned. I mean, I guess I can take it, but... Wait, can I not castle kingside here? Let's say I castle kingside. I get tempo on check here, which then isn't a mate threat because f8 is very held. But if I do castle and he takes, I can go check, forcing king h8 and then recapture. But there's just going to be rook f1, and I don't really see how to carry on from there. So actually, I'm going to play bishop d2 to hold this knight After knight takes, I can take with bishop and actually really activate the bishop on a strong diagonal there. But mainly also bishop d2, preparing queenside castles and leaving these pawns ready to be flung up the board and try and apply some pressure to my opponent's king. I mean, the h pawn is just begging to be pushed here, I think. I don't know. I mean, this is... If I lose, it's okay. It's a Jerome Gambit. However, you know, people that are well versed in the Gambit have, you know, like ridiculous win rates with it because it's just so sharp. Okay, we see a rook come to f8 here, attacking the queen. That was sort of to be expected. I'm going to have to move the queen. But now I don't really need the e2 square for the knight because there's no pawn maybe coming to d4. So I'm thinking just queen e2 makes a lot of sense here. So I'm not going to dilly-dally too much. Actually, then there's like knight f4. And I'm not the biggest fan of that. Ew, okay. What if we play like queen d4? I mean, there's also some kind of stupid gambit where we then take this knight here. But queen d4 is kind of interesting. Knight takes, we actually play queen takes. Because we don't want to trade queens. Okay. Don't hate queen d4 for some reason. I think mainly because it can't be attacked with another knight. If knight takes here, bishop takes looks tempting because it threatens mate in one, but then the queens can be traded. And I really think we want to keep the queens on the board. But the knight jumps in here. Now, that move confuses me a little. Probably just going after the g2 square, actually. Oh, and also, I don't really want to trade off the queens, so that makes a lot of sense. I can't obviously go here because this comes with check. Oh, I might have to trade off the queens. Because if I take this, then another knight's going to come here. Unless I give a little check. But then the bishop comes here and it's held by the knight. Wow, this is all a bit messy. I don't want to allow this takes with check. But the thing is, even if I trade the queens, he can take here as like as Zug, and then I'm gonna have to move my king, and then he can recapture. Although maybe the knight gets trapped like king f3, something kind of funny. But then knight comes to here with check. My king just walks up. Yeah, this is looking distinctly like an L, I'll be honest. I'm going to just play queen g1. Now that is a disgusting move. I do not ever want to have to play that again in my life. But I think I need to hold g2. And I really don't want to trade the queens. And who knows, there might be some activity now where I can push these pawns. Like, say I now play h3. I mean, I can't castle here. But there's no knight e2 because this knight holds. So h3. Bishop h5, g4 traps the bishop. Right, this is definitely... I don't know, bishop g4 may have been not a great move. Because I can remove the bishop for this diagonal and then just castle queenside. So I mean, h3 here, I think just forces the bishop back to either e6 or d7. I mean, bishop c8 makes no sense, I don't think. But if bishop h5, I'm sure black can get away with it because they're probably really winning. But again, this is just tempo to push these pawns, so... I don't know, it's at least interesting, and that is all you can hope for when playing such a dubious gambit. Okay, bishop goes back to e6. Now I can castle, so I think I just should, without even a second thought really, because let's not mess around. So I'm going to castle here. Okay, so my opponent's played b5, which is quite a clever gambit idea. Because if I take, it's not really a gambit because there's just knight e2, and this is attacked. So they're also threatening b5, or b4 rather, kicking this knight and then knight e2. And I can't even take, okay, I probably should now just kick this knight. g3, how do I feel about that? Here, takes, takes, takes. Let's go, let's just play it. Can't come to e2, can't come to here. Can actually take on h3, but I'm thinking that the open h file is hopefully going to be enough compensation for that. Whoa. Oh, this hangs in the end? Okay, we're just going to take this because we have to. But bishop takes here. b3, I think. Okay, this makes not much sense to me. Bishop gets really active. G-file's open. And this is a win with the Jerome Gambit. My opponent blunders and we get checkmate. Let's go. Okay, so here we are in the analysis. Let's go through the game. So, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop c4. The Italian game. If you look at the Lee Chess database here, there are quite literally millions of games in this position. It is one of the most heavily studied positions in all of chess. A lot of grandmasters play it. A lot of masters play it. This is an opening that, I mean, we should afford some respect. It's existed for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's been studied by the best players all around the world, all throughout history. So we should play, you know, a solid move here. C3 being an option, castling being an option, D3, even the Evans Gambit, B4. If we want to make it a bit spicy, let's at least do so by paying some respect to Joko Piano. However, bishop takes F7, the Jerome Gambit, which Lee Chess now recognizes the Jerome Gambit. I'm not exactly sure when that term was officially coined. However, the Jerome Gambit, giving up the bishop and giving a minus 4.6 evaluation off the bat voluntarily to black. So after this, I mean, you've given away one piece, why not give away another? And then once the knight recaptures, which apparently isn't the best move according to, okay, no, it is, it's just the computer's having a bit of a shaky time. We're going to play queen h5, winning back one of the pieces. The king can go up here to defend the knight, but then I believe, do we go, oh, we can go f4 and then you're going to have to move the knight and then we can pick up the bishop. Point being that this is the most common line I see with knight g6, and I should have given a little check on my way actually, forcing the king to move again because this check isn't blockable, and then picking up the bishop. This forces the king back to e8, making it harder to sneak into g8 after the rook comes out. So I need to keep that in mind for the future. I did know that, but I failed to remember it. However, we see d6. Best move here, slotting the queen back to e3. There's no point, as I said, in giving any check along this diagonal, as just bishop e6 develops a piece and blocks that check, and then you're going to have to move your queen again. So after the knight develops, I then should have played f3. Instead, I went for knight c3, and the computer really doesn't like this because of d5. Oh, the point being that if I ever take, there's going to be rook to e8, and my queen and my king are here. So, yeah, that's probably not too strong. Okay, in the future, if I somehow play another Jerome Gambit on this channel, I will definitely not play knight c3 here. F3 is actually the best move. I guess preventing knight g4 as well. Even bishop g4 preventing castling, queenside at least. So my opponent didn't punish that. They played rook e8. Still a strong move though. And I played d3, and my opponent moved the king. Now, from here they don't have as much of an advantage, but I played f3, which seemingly is the right idea. They played d5, and I step back to queen f2. Absolutely fine. Takes, and I shouldn't take him with the f-pawn. Okay, I think largely, let's turn on the computer here. Largely, I guess, because long-term the f-file open, as well as f3 was preventing the idea of knight g4 harassing the queen. I think I mentioned that during the game. But my opponent goes for the far more flamboyant knight d5, which I, of course, can't take. I mean, I could have taken with knight, but then after queen takes, I've done nothing but sort of activate my opponent's queen with a trade of knights. And I don't want to trade pieces because I'm not in a great position. So I developed the bishop to hold onto the knight, and so I can castle. Then, yeah, queen d4 was a bit ambitious. I mean, I didn't really see knight f4 was a move, and I should have just gone to g3. However, yeah, queen d4 wasn't great because, I mean, yeah, knight f4, I had to go back to g1. I'm interested as to what the computer suggests here, actually. Just trading queens. Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to trade queens just humanly because then I'm not really threatening too much. It's going to be a pretty simple endgame for black to win. I mean, yes, I have a passed pawn, but it's not going to be worth the fact that I don't have the extra knight. Even though I have two pawns, if I trade the queens, I lose a lot of my winning chances. So going back to g1, I quite like. Then my opponent correctly put the bishop on g4. And when I kicked it, yeah, this I had a quick look before I started the recording. This is absolutely brutal. Knight takes g2 was a move here that I'm very thankful my opponent didn't realise. After knight takes g2, if I take with queen, there's actually queen h4 check. And if you look at all the squares my king can go, well, the answer is there are no squares that my king can go. This bishop and the rook just doing an incredible job there of restricting my king. And there's a check given here, which I can block one of two ways, but either way it's going to be taken next move, and it's just going to be checkmate, which, I mean, let's just show an example here. But of course, black did not see this tactic, as did I, and they moved their bishop back, which allowed me to castle queenside, which felt like, at least, you know, at least my king's a bit safer here. Still not doing that well, but after b5, which wasn't horrible, but not the best idea, I should have gone for queen c5. Threatening to take this, probably removing my queen from the threat of being forked on e2. I kind of preferred attacking the knight a little. However, I did realise I'd hung h3. I thought maybe, even though the computer's not going to like it, practically that gives me some chances along the h-file if I put my queen on h2. Maybe bring this knight over and try and force this knight away. I thought something like that might occur, so I thought, you know, actually if he takes on the h-file, that's probably going to be a way to redeem this game. But he played b4, which was not ideal, because I can take the knight, and if he takes my knight, I recapture. And after this bishop was put here, I really didn't mind my position. I mean, you can take on f5, which, on f4 rather, which I guess kind of ruins the whole idea of going f5. But I don't know, I thought my h-pawn was moving, I thought this bishop was very active. I thought it was going to be easy for black to make some mistakes here. Also, these pawns are weak, and if they fall, I'm going to have a whole lot of passed pawns. And I just thought that there were winning chances in this position. The engine somewhat agrees, minus 2.1 is not, you know, not absolutely lost. However, as you know, my opponent took with knight, and, you know, that sneaky queen that slid back to g1 came to life, taking on g7 with a very simple checkmate idea to end that game. Even if my opponent hadn't have made that knight takes mistake, I like to think there was still a lot of opportunities for counterplay. The computer wants me to play like b3 here, but the idea of, or it wants me to play queen e3. Okay, queen e3, queen h4, fair enough. But let's say, I mean, let's say you drop the rook back, then all of a sudden, look, minus 1.6. It's gonna hopefully be one of those positions where all of a sudden this pawn's right here, get the rook over to the g file. This bishop's gonna be doing a lot. And yeah, I had counterplay. So, you know, very interesting game, but obviously got that good checkmate on g7 and a Jerome Gambit win. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed and you're new, I'd really appreciate a subscribe. Let me know if you're ever going to play the Jerome Gambit in the comments. And yeah, thank you very much for watching.